Hey guys, welcome to the Creative Arena. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create these powerful parallax overlapping containers on ScrollTriger on Elementor without the use of any line of CSS code. So at the end of this tutorial, we're going to create something that looks like this. So when you scroll, you can see this, like the image is growing and then this one overlaps it. And then when you scroll down, you now have this section revealing this other section, and this button here is clickable, and when you scroll you now have this covering it up and then revealing the footer for us, as you can see. So this wonderful feature here, we were able to achieve it without the use of any line of CSS code or additional plugin, and also it is responsive on all devices, and we can check that out on our tablet and see what it looks like on tablet. When we scroll, you can see that smooth scrolling effect. You can see a revealing container and then covering it up and revealing the footer. And also on mobile, we have this. On mobile, we can have this. You can see it. As you can see, scroll and then reveals. And this is also clickable, and then and the footer. So without further delay, let's dive in and get started. So in our Elementor editing screen, the first thing I'm going to do is I'll just come over here, click on this plus icon here and select the flexbox container. Then I'm going to select the structure here. Come over here, set the content width to full width, and then come down here to where we have the gap and set it to 0. Then I'm going to come over to our element area and select the container. Now what I'm going to do here is, for the first container here, I'm going to call it our hero wrapper container. Now for this container within it, I'm just going to call it our hero container. Okay. So now for the hero container, I'll come over here, set the content width to full width. And for the minimal height, I'll change the unit from pixel to VH and give it the value of 100. Then I'm going to come over here, make sure the item direction is set to column vertical, justify content to the center, and align item to the center. Then I'll go to the style option. For the background type, I'm going to set it to classic and then give it the background image from our media library. So I'll select this image here. Okay, then I'll come over here, position it to the center, and then repeat. I'll set it to no repeat. For the display size, I'm going to set it to cover. Okay, now I'm going to do a little effect here, scrolling effect here. So I'm just going to toggle this on and then come down to where we have the scale. Then I'm just going to scale it up. For the speed, I'll set it to 2. Okay, then I'm going to come over here, apply this effect on tablet and desktop and remove it on mobile. Okay, so now that we've done that, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to come over here to our element area and drag the heading widget and drop it here. Okay, so now for the heading text, I'm just going to change the text here to the words creative arena. Okay, then I'm come over here to the style option, and for the align, I'll just align it to the center. For the typography, I'm just come over here. For the font family, I'll set it to Times New Roman. The font size, I'll change the unit from pixel to rem and give it a value of 5.5 rem. And then for the weight, I'll just set it to 500 and transform, set it to capitalized. Okay, then I'll come over to the text color and set it to white. Okay, and that we've done that, we'll come back here to our element area and then drag the button widget and drop it right below. For the button text, I'm just going to set the text to shop now, and then come over here to the style option and tweak it a little bit. For the typography, come over here, set the font size to rem and then give it a value of 1.2 rem. Okay, set the weight to 500. And then I'm going to come over here to the background. First of all, change the text color to black, and then come over to the background and give it a background color of EC05B1. Okay, then I'll come over to the border radius and give it a border radius of 20 pixels around. So we now have something that looks like this. Then I'll come over here For the text color, I'm going to set it to EC05B1, and then come over to the background and give it the background color of white. Okay, so now we now have this effect when we okay, so now that we've done that, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to come over here real quick and then select the hero wrapper and come over to element area and then come down to where we'll have the spacer and select the spacer. So you notice now that the spacer is not within the hero, but within the hero wrapper, just like the hero is within the hero wrapper. Okay, so now for the spacer, I'll change the uniform pixel to VH and give it a value of 100 VH. So now when you scroll, you're going to see this space here. Okay, so now not to worry, we're going to work on this. So now in order for us to make this spacer not visible, we're just going to come over to this hero here, and then we're going to come down to the advanced settings and give it a z index value of 1, and then we're going to come down to the motion effect, and then we're going to set it to sticky to the top. Okay, and then come down to the stay in column and toggle this to yes. So now when we scroll, you see that we are scrolling and there is no more space again. Okay, so now that we've done that, the next thing we're going to do here, we're going to create another section here, like let's say our body section. Since you're building a full demo website with all Parallax effects displaying, so I'm just going to pause this video and design the next section real quick. All right, so I've taken the time out to create this demo section here. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do here is on this container, I'm just going to call it our content container. Okay, so now I'm going to come over to the advanced settings for this content container, and remember the spacer, we gave it a VH value of 100. So now what we're going to do here is on this second container here, this content container here, we're going to come over to the margin, set it to custom, and then unlink this. Now to the top, we're going to give it the value of a margin to the top of -100 VH. Okay, so now that we've done that, the next thing we're going to do again on this content container here is we'll come over here, come down here to the z index and give it the z index value of 2. Remember we gave this hero container here a z index value of 1. Okay, so now we've given this one here a z index value of 2. So that will make it so that when we scroll, we can see this effect here. As we're scrolling, it seems like it's overlapping. Okay, as you can see, and then we now have that effect, that scrolling effect, which makes this container here looks like it's zooming. You see it's growing, looks like it's growing, as you can see. Okay, so now we've done this first part. So now the next part we're going to work on is we're going to work on the footer. Okay, so now I'm just going to publish this. Okay, so now for the footer, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to come over here and design a footer sample for us. So I'm just doing all the design. You can design it however you want, but the idea here is for you to get the logic as to how to make the cards overlap and review as you scroll. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through, but first of all, let me design the structure. All right, but I've been able to create a basic footer. As you can see here, this is the structure of the footer here. And then this is the container housing each of these sections here, just a basic footer, nothing special. So now the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to come over here. Let me rename this for reference purposes, footer wrapper. And then I'm going to rename this one here, our footer. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to select this footer wrapper, just like what I did when I was designing the hero section. I'm just going to select the footer wrapper, come over to element area and select the spacer. This time around, the spacer is going to be above the footer. So I'll just drag it and drop it above the footer. And then I'll come over here for the unit. I'll change the unit from pixel to VH and give it the value of 90 VH. Okay, so now we now have 90 VH room to scroll, as you can see. All right, so the next thing I want to do here is I'm just going to come over here to our footer. Okay, then come down to where we have the advanced settings and then come over to the Z index. I'm going to give it the Z index of 0. And then I'm going to come over here to where we have the motion effect, and then I'll come over to the sticky and then set it to sticky to the bottom. Now I'm going to set it to stay in column. Okay. So now that I've done that, you can see now we now have this effect here. Okay. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over here to our footer wrapper, come over to the advanced settings, and then come down to where we have the margin, change the uniform pixel to custom, and then unlink this. Now to the top, I'm going to give it a negative margin of -90 VH, to out the spacer. Okay, so now that I've done that, if you come over here to our container now, let's say we'll go to the top and then we scroll, we see this effect here, and then we'll get over here, we can have this reviewed effect on the footer. Pretty amazing, right? Okay, I'm just going to move on to the next section, which is the call to action section. So I'm going to do that from scratch real quick. So just click on this plus icon here. Select the flexbox container and select the structure here. I'm going to come over here, set the content weight to full width, and then for the minimum height, I'll change the uniform pixel to VH and give it a value of 300 VH. Okay, then I'll come over to our element area and select the container widget. Now for these containers here, I'm going to rename this one for reference purposes. I'm going to call this one CTA wrapper. And then for the container within it, I'm going to call it our CTA. Okay, so for the CTA, I'm going to come over here, and then for the minimal height, I'll change the uniform pixel to VH and give it a value of 100. Then I'm going to come over here, set the item direction to column vertical, justify content to the center, and align item to the center. I'm going to come back to our element area and select the container. So I'm going to drop a container within the CTA. So now for this container here, I'm just going to make sure I justify content to the center and align item to the center. Come over to our element area and select the heading widget. So for the heading text, I'm just going to change the text to shop anywhere, any time. Okay, then I'm going to go to the style option and tweak it a little bit, align it to the center, come over to the typography. For the font family, I'm going to set it to Times New Roman. For the font size, I'm going to change the uniform pixel to REM and give it a value of 6.1 REM. Then I'm going to come over here to where we'll have the transform and set it to capitalize. Then I'll come down here to the color and set the color to black. Okay, now I'm going to go back here and copy this button here, button widget, and come down here, and then I'll place the button widget right below the heading text. Okay, so now that I've done that, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to select this one here, then come over here, select the CTA container, and then come over to element area and select the spacer. So the spacer is within the CTA container, just like this container here is within the CTA container. Okay, so now for the spacer, I'm going to come over here and then give it a VH value of 100. Okay, then I'm going to go to the advanced settings, come down to where we have the background, and then I'm going to give it set the background to classic and give it a background color of EC05B1. Okay, so now that I've done that, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to come here, still on the background color, I'm going to set it, make it transparent. So I'm just going to drag it this way. So when I have that transparent, see, okay, then I'll come over to the max, and then I'm going to max the spacer. So for the shapes, there are different shapes here. You can choose whatever you want. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to choose the sketch. It looks great. So now I'm going to go back to the layout, still on the spacer, and then I'll come down to where we'll have the position. I'm going to set the position to absolute. So we'll now have it well placed here. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to come over here, and then for the Z index, I'm going to set the Z index to 0. And then for the container here, housing the heading and the button, this container here, I'm going to come over to the advanced settings and give it a Z index value of 1. Okay, so now this button is now clickable, as you can see. Okay, so now for the button, to make it more visible, I can come over here, go to the style option. This is up to you. Okay, you can leave it, you can do whatever you want depending on the project you're working on. So just come over here and set it to black, so it's now more visible. Okay, so now that I've done this and everything now looks great, so the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to come over here still on this CTA wrapper. On our CTA wrapper, I'm going to go to the advanced settings, come over to the margin here, and then I'm going to change the unit from pixel to custom, and then I'm going to unlink this. Now onto the top, I'm going to give it a value of -100 VH, and then to the bottom, I'm also going to give it a value of -100 VH. Okay, so now that I've done that, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to come over here and drag and then come down to where we have the CTA. Okay, for the CTA, I'm going to come over to the advanced settings here, and then I'm going to give it a value of 0, a Z index value of 0. Okay, and then I'm going to come down to where we have the motion effect, and then come down to the sticky and set it to sticky to the top. Okay, so now that I've done that, for this CTA container here, we are done with designing the CTA wrapper. Okay, I don't know why this keep going up. So now what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to toggle this footer wrapper here and then drag the CTA wrapper to be between the content and the footer. So I'm just going to drag it and drop it here. Okay, so now that I've done that, now we can see now that when you come over here, you scroll, you have this effect here. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the final container or the final section to our design, okay, to wrap things up. All right, so now to do so, I'm just going to come over here to the footer. We will have the footer, and then I'm going to design that. So as usual, I'm going to pause this video and design the next section real quick. Okay. All right. So as you can see, I've designed the final container that we'll be working with. So just pretty basic, nothing special here. You can see the structure here. This is the one containing the image and this content here, as you can see. So now for reference purposes, I'm just going to rename this container to content 2 wrapper. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do here is under this content 2 wrapper here, I'm going to go to the advanced settings, come down to the Z index and give it the Z index value of 2. Then I'm going to go to the margin, and then I'm going to change the unit from pixel to custom. And then I'm going to unlink this. And then to the top, I'm going to give it a margin to the top of -110 VH. Okay. So now that I've done that, finally, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to come over here and drag this and drop it right above the footer. So now the footer widget is the final widget we have on our website. So now when you come over here, you can see now that we now have this wonderful design. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to publish this so we can preview it on our website. All right, so I'm just going to click on this to preview. Okay, so now from the top, when we scroll, you can see now this image here is like it's growing, and then you have this overlapping it, and then you scroll down, you now have it revealing this section here, and then when you continue scrolling, this one covering it up, and then this one revealing the filter. So this is a wonderful feature that you can use to build a wonderful and interactive website. Okay, so this is just pretty much it about the parallax effect we've added to our website, and we can test this out on our live simulator to see if it works on all devices and how responsive the effect is on all devices. Okay, so I'm just going to test that out. Okay, so this is what our website looks like on live preview. As you can see, when you scroll, you have this wonderful effect. Okay, and this one revealing this container, and this button here is clickable, as you can see. And then you scroll, you now have this wonderful effect here. This wonderful parallax effect. We were able to achieve this without the use of any line of CSS code, and we can check it out on tablet to see what it looks like. And you can see now that when you scroll, you still have this wonderful effect working on tablet, like so. Okay, and then on mobile, you can check it out on mobile, and we see we have this effect also on mobile, the stacking effect and the revealing effect with this clickable, and then we now have this here. as you can see. Now on this text here, we didn't make it responsive. We can go back and edit it. However, it's just pretty basic for you to do. All you just need to do is to reduce the font size here. Okay. And then we can just go back and do that real quick. Come over here. And then we just edit this text and then come over here and reduce it to, let's say, 4.1. Yep. This is pretty good. Or we can set it to 4.5. Yep. And then we'll publish it. We could see. Okay, you can see it. It now looks better, as you can see. Okay, so that's pretty much it about this tutorial. If you've learned something new from this tutorial, remember to give this video a thumbs up. And if you're new to our channel, remember to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you get notified first when I drop a new video. And feel free to drop your comments wherever you're confused, and I'll do well to attend to as much as I can. But until then, see you on our next video. Bye-bye.